Each day, more than 815 million people go hungry. Hunger and poverty are inextricably linked, and climate change disproportionately affects the most vulnerable. A series of high-level roundtables focused on Sustainable Development Goal 2 and the idea that hunger, poverty, and climate change must be tackled together.
Nowadays, our main concern is oriented to the impact of climate change on the rural areas that most suffer, but particularly about the smallholders, family farm, pastoralists, that are the poorest of the poorest.
An astronaut's perspective helped underscore the urgency of coordinated action.
From space, it's very different. The perspective is very different. You see it as very fragile, which it is. It's just an oasis of life in the emptiness of space. There's nothing, there's no life for millions of light years around, and that's all we have, and it's very, very fragile. And when you see all those negative impacts of human activity, you really see we're damaging our spacecrafts, because Earth is a spacecraft for the entire world population. We're just all together on a journey in space on a spacecraft.
Climate change is happening and some further change is already locked in. So although we can avoid the worst changes, we already have to adapt to some changes which are inevitable. Under a 2-degree world, we expect large areas of the tropics to become very uncomfortable or even perhaps impossible to be outdoors. On the whole, we can expect a more unequal world in terms of crop yields. Yields going up in some areas at lower levels of warming, but going down in other areas. But then when we get to very high levels of warming, we can expect to see decreased yields in many areas of the world.
Small island states face unique and extreme challenges in the context of climate change. Rising sea levels, warming water, ocean acidification, and extreme weather events threaten to destroy land and freshwater sources and transform traditional farming and fishing practices.
We can no longer plant kulaka, our mainstay. We can no longer plant breadfruit trees, which is common in the Pacific Islands, and we cannot drink groundwater because it's brackish.
The people of the Pacific are stewards of the largest ocean on Earth. 98% of our ocean, of our region, is ocean. Our country's futures depend upon the health and conservation of our vast ocean and coastal resources.
Most of those who are affected, like the islands, the poorer countries as well. One of the messages that is coming through now about resilience is learning how to diversify the agricultural products upon which your livelihoods are based.
There is the need to increase productivity, but do it in a sustainable way, without affecting the environment. Landscape approaches are attractive because they do not only see at the biophysical dimension of the problem, but also the socioeconomic and the institutional. For example, at landscape level, we can integrate actions that combine the role of farmers, the role of farmers' organizations, the public goods that the governments can provide, the role of local governments and national governments.
The approach from our government in Indonesia is having sustainable landscape management by accommodating as many as possible people in the forest land, in which they have been already there in the forest area, by giving them access rights. We continue working with this. We call it social forestry. We provide access rights for them to work legally in the forest land. And we also support them, and we give access for support for financial supports, technology, markets, and those things.
It's not just about us. It's about the whole planet, right? We're just more in the forefront and more urgent.
We need to act now, and we have the capacity to do that. We have available the tools, at least to start. Of course, much more needs for the future, more research, new technologies that will help, but we have enough tools to start to work now.